Hello, everyone. You guys are getting me in between my breaks at work today, but I wanted to hop on here and take care of my discussion post. And what a perfectly appropriate place to do it, since my examples of transference and countertransference actually take place often in the healthcare setting. So transference, just as a quick refresher, is when clients project onto a therapist or a healthcare worker their past feelings. And so this actually happens quite often. I am a middleman. I am not a physician. I work closely with physicians, but often I do the diagnostic neurological procedures, hence the little brain. How cute is that? For these patients. And often I find that patients can kind of come in with a preconceived sort of, forgive my phrasing, but sort of pissed off mentality about sort of the care that has thus far been their experience, and they often project sort of that negativity and sort of assumption onto us as healthcare workers. And so there's this very fine line of where we have to just like strike this balance of trying to just let it go because it's out of our control, but also we still have to get through those procedures. So it definitely happens, and it happens quite frequently, especially through COVID, with there just being a shortage of healthcare and support, as well as even staff. So I work in such a very subspecialized sort of field of neurology that often I can get recruited kind of anywhere in the US. And so I do only certain tests that are available in Oregon. I think California is the next state that's closest. Other than that, it kind of goes Midwest and then East Coast for sort of some of my subspecialties. And, patients get frustrated with having to wait. Some of our tests can take, 2-3 hours, and that means you're only getting through like 4 to 5 in a 10-hour shift. So people kind of also come in, upset in sort of transferring that negative energy just in having had to wait so long for the procedure. So I think it happens often in healthcare, and it's easy to talk about and why healthcare has sort of had this reputation for identifying stress and burnout. It's something that I think going into healthcare, people need to be cognizant of. So whether you're a therapist, whether you're in a healthcare setting, it definitely happens. And so that's why there's probably, a big talk about burnout naturally. So basically, again, these patients come in, they're upset, they're frustrated, and they're taking it out on us. And we're just trying to get through the procedure, give them the best care we can, not understanding, one, where they've been entirely, but two, also really not having a lot of say in things because, again, I'm just doing the diagnostic procedure. I don't diagnose. I don't give any medicines. I basically help perform these tests to give the doctors and physicians more answers. So it often puts us in this gray sort of space. But I think when it becomes sort of countertransference is when those patients like can't let go of sort of their frustration, and then they start taking it out on you. I happened to work with a patient the other day who was just really, really mad at the whole healthcare system. And so the entire 2-hour procedure that I was trying to perform, she was just cursing at me and angry and mad and nasty. And as calm as I remained, I couldn't do anything to sort of make her feel at ease. And I realize and have to tell myself like, hey, that had nothing to do with me. That was something that was bigger than myself. But it's challenging because you still have to kind of like push through it. And I try to often listen when patients are in those situations, because I think that, again, they've just had a bad experience, and sometimes those bad experiences leave a greater mark than all the good experiences that they can go through. And so I try to just listen. I try to also not cut them short, but in my land, since I only have, 2 hours to do my procedure and they stack us back to back, getting the most out of the healthcare system as healthcare is these days, it becomes a real challenge because that patient, I was 45 minutes, almost an hour late for the next patient, trying not to rush, trying to give them the time that they felt they so deserved. And I still think they left mildly unhappy, but I think that was just their disposition. So it happens both transference and countertransference. I think countertransference, though, pushes it like one step forward, where it becomes so negative. There's no sort of anything I could do, to make those patients happy. And so we still get through the procedure. it becomes very difficult for both parties involved. And I think it can happen often in healthcare. So especially as a middleman, I consider myself a middleman. But often the assumption, again, is that I don't care at all about what I'm doing, when that's not the case, or at least not why I went into healthcare. I went into healthcare with sort of the predisposition that I would get to help people. And I guess I'm helping as part of a bigger puzzle, but patients don't always see that or recognize that. And so it can be very, very challenging, especially, if they're getting a new diagnosis of something that's, pretty terrifying. And I work with a lot of seizures. I work with a lot of trauma. It's not often the best news or the best foot forward for a lot of these patients. And so it can be a challenging field. That's my real life experience. I will say triggers for me in healthcare often have more to do with just not having patients be upset with me, but it's more when I feel taken advantage of, as far as like, I work hard, I try to do my job, and I guess it gets unrecognized. And so I sometimes feel like that when they're like, hey, you just did 4 studies, but you were done faster than everybody else, so here's a 5th one. And it almost negatively impacts the fact that, wait, I just did my caseload. Instead, it gives me more to do. So that can definitely be a quick trigger for me. I tend to be pretty efficient. I've been doing my job for a long time, and I like it, and I'm passionate about it. So it's not even that I mind the work, but I think it's how it's sometimes asked or presented that can be very, very impactful. Being taken out on, being the middleman, I often feel like the difference between management and sort of direct patient care workers is sort of a disconnect, and that can be tricky. I try to just go for walks. Actually, I do it all the time at work. So I work on a huge campus. I work in 6 different hospitals. I probably put in at least 6 miles just with my direct patient care. And then that's not counting any of the other physicality, but also I add miles to that. Just sometimes I think it helps to sort of remove yourself from the space. So a technique that I use is often to go for a walk. When I've had a really tough patient, it helps to take 5 extra minutes before starting the next person, to walk outside the room, go take a deep breath, and just kind of collect myself. And I do it often, especially the longer I'm in healthcare, because sometimes you just need a step away. And so if you're already running 45 minutes late, what's 5 more minutes? I always try to respect my patients and their time by letting them know I'm going to be running a couple minutes late, but I think sometimes those extra 5 minutes can make your next sort of appointment go a little bit more smoothly from a direct healthcare worker perspective. So I go for walks, and I will say stress and burnout is high in healthcare. Mostly we give a lot of our time, a lot of our energy, and we care about our patients. And sometimes we care in a way that we have very little control over. You can connect with the patient maybe because the story is similar to something that you've lived or been part of, but you really have to I have to personally work at separating the two, so that I don't get burnout. And I think also sometimes, again, just reminding myself of that, try to take a lot of deep breaths. And then I really love that I have a drive home after work, because I really try to just decompress before going home, because I very much try to keep my work and home separate as much as possible. Now, it's interesting because I work in epilepsy and I have a son who's epileptic. So it takes a lot of conscious effort, a lot of deep breaths. And so, my self-care practices are really, again, those frequent walks. And then sometimes just reminding myself to take a deep breath, Erica. Remind yourself that, some things aren't within your control. And, maybe it was just an off day. And I tend to have a pretty good head on my shoulders and come back the next day with a little different perspective and try again. And so I think all those things are really important, and why, I think I'm a valuable team member. It does, again, take conscious effort. And so, I hope you all enjoyed my video. I hope you all are having a great week, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.